Welcome everyone and thank you for joining this deep and exciting journey into the world of rare coins, where something as small and ordinary as a wheat penny can suddenly transform into a legendary treasure worth tens of millions of dollars. And today we're diving into one of the most surprising, mysterious and captivating stories in numismatic history, the unbelievable tale of the 1954 wheat penny that collectors whisper about, a coin rumored to have soared to a shocking value of $38 million, not because it was minted from any special metal or because it belonged to a president or historical figure, but because of a combination of extraordinary mint mistakes, breathtakingly rare errors, strange production anomalies, and nearly impossible survival conditions that turned an everyday copper cent into the kind of jackpot find every coin hunter dreams about. And as we explore this story from the beginning, imagine holding what seems like a normal old penny yet discovering that tiny details, barely visible to the naked eye, might actually be clues to a once-in-a-lifetime minting accident that transformed an ordinary 1954 coin into something astronomically valuable, so valuable that if you found one today, your entire life could change instantly, because this isn't just about a coin, it's about the possibilities hidden in plain sight, the mysterious ways minting machinery malfunctions, the way unnoticed human error can create a golden opportunity inside a copper coin, and the endless fascination collectors feel when they uncover the smallest imperfections that turn into huge payouts. So let's dive into the captivating world of the 1954 wheat penny, beginning with the minting environment of the San Francisco Mint in the mid-1950s, a time when the mint was transitioning through equipment updates, striking pressures were inconsistent, planchet preparation was often rushed due to production demands, and older dies were still occasionally used even after they should have been retired, all of which created the perfect environment for rare and valuable errors. And when we talk about the 1954 specifically, we're talking about a coin from the final years of the famous wheat reverse era, minted using copper alloy planchets that were supposed to be completely uniform, perfectly aligned and struck under precise pressure, but sometimes things went wrong, and when they did, the coins that slipped through became the kinds of treasures we chase today. And one of the reasons a 1954 wheat penny could reach an insane value like $38 million is because of the possibility of multiple overlapping errors occurring on a single coin, errors so rare that they essentially create a one-of-one masterpiece in the world of mint mistakes, and collectors speculate endlessly about what kinds of errors could justify such an enormous figure. And one possibility often mentioned is a dramatic double die obverse, an error where the die that strikes the coin shifts or rotates between impressions during hubbing, causing the letters in Liberty, the date 1954, and the phrase "I and God We Trust" to appear doubled, bold, stretched or shadowed, and if such doubling occurred on a 1954 penny in a way that was strong, clear, and visually striking, it would instantly become one of the rarest double die varieties ever seen. But imagine stacking that with yet another error, like an off-center strike that misaligns the design so severely that part of the lettering or Lincoln's portrait drifts toward the rim while still keeping enough detail to identify the coin. An off-center error combined with a double die could create an example so unique that collectors would fight tooth and nail to own it. And that's not the only possibility, because another thrilling factor is the chance that the coin was struck on the wrong planchet entirely, something the mint tried hard to prevent but still happened occasionally. And if even one 1954 wheat penny was accidentally struck on a leftover silver dime planchet or on a transitional alloy planchet not intended for that year, it would not only be historically significant but wildly valuable. And when you imagine a 1954 wheat cent mistakenly struck on a non-copper planchet, perhaps a planchet that weighs slightly less or slightly more, with a color that differs subtly under light, a ring to the metal that's not typical of copper, that coin would become an instant legend, especially if the wrong planchet strike coincided with die issues or misaligned machinery, creating a combination of errors so unusual that it becomes nearly priceless. And experts often point out that transitional or off-metal strikes are some of the highest value mint errors ever discovered, so it's no wonder that collectors dream about a 1954 version existing somewhere, tucked away in someone's old jar of change or sitting unnoticed in an inherited collection. And we also can't forget the possibility of a double struck or triple struck 1954 penny, where the coin receives more than one impact from the die because it wasn't properly ejected the first time, and these can create dramatic distortions like overlapping outlines of Lincoln's face, shifted lettering shadows, duplicated dates, and crescent-shaped rims that instantly signal multiple strikes. And in some mythical cases, a coin could receive multiple strikes on different axes or with slight rotations between strikes, creating a surreal layered effect that collectors adore. And if such a rare multi-strike error exists on a 1954 wheat penny, especially paired with other mistakes, it could easily be one of the most valuable coins ever discovered, potentially justifying the kind of jaw-dropping valuation that reaches into the tens of millions. And then there's the possibility of an ultra-rare die cap error, where the coin sticks to the die face after striking and then continues striking other planchets, slowly wrapping itself upward like a tiny copper cup. But if a die cap error on a 1954 wheat cent somehow preserved the date, the mint mark, and enough identifying features to prove its authenticity, it could easily reach unimaginable value, simply because die caps are already rare, and mid-century wheat cent die caps in high grade are almost unheard of. And the story becomes even wilder when you consider the possibility that the 1954 mint mark itself has an error, such as an S over D repunched mint mark, where a Denver mint mark accidentally ends up under the San Francisco mint mark due to die reusage, a phenomenon known to occur in earlier decades and occasionally suspected in 1950s coins. And if a 1954 penny existed with a dramatic RPM, especially one where the underlying D is clearly visible under the S, it would instantly multiply the coin's desirability and value. And then imagine that same coin also having doubling, or being struck off-center, or being struck on the wrong planchet. This combination would be so astonishingly rare that collectors would consider it a once-in-history piece, the kind of coin museums would fight over and private investors would go to extraordinary lengths to acquire. And the $38 million figure begins to make sense in that context, because when a single coin becomes the only surviving example of a spectacular multi-error event, its price isn't just based on copper alloy or age, it's based on its uniqueness, its story, its near-mythical existence, and the feverish demand of collectors who know they may never see another example like it. And speaking of survival, another reason a 1954 wheat cent could command an astronomical figure is the possibility that the error coin survived in an almost impossibly high grade, perhaps MS-68 or MS-69 red, grades that are nearly unattainable for mid-1950s wheat cents due to the way they were handled, transported, and stored, because most coins from that era show spots, scratches, bag marks or dull surfaces, and finding any 1954 cent in high mint state red condition is rare, but finding an error coin in that condition would be borderline miraculous. And when you combine a spectacular error with an unbelievably high grade, the value skyrockets, especially because serious collectors and investors know that population numbers matter more than almost anything. And a population of one in a high grade instantly creates bidding wars that can push prices into territory no one would expect for a simple copper cent. And this is the heart of the excitement around the mythical $38 million figure, because it's not just about the coin itself, it's about the possibility that inside someone's old coffee can full of pennies, tucked away in a dusty attic or locked in a forgotten drawer, there might be a 1954 wheat cent with an error so unique, so dramatic, and so historically significant that it becomes one of the most valuable coins ever discovered. And this idea fuels collectors, encourages treasure hunters, inspires metal detector hobbyists, and keeps people searching through pocket change with hope, because coins like this prove that even the smallest mistake at the mint can turn into a life-changing treasure decades later. And as we explore these possibilities, we uncover another layer of mystery: the way coins travel through time, the way they change hands unknowingly, the way they slip into circulation and disappear for decades before resurfacing in the most unexpected places. And that's part of the thrill, imagining that someone out there may have already touched or even owned this multi-million-dollar treasure without realizing it, maybe spending it on gum or tossing it into a jar, unaware that the coin they held was unique in the world. And the excitement around the 1954 penny isn't just about money, it's about mystery, history, possibility, and the incredible power of human curiosity. Next. Today we're exploring one of the most surprising and mind-bending tales of all, the 1946 wheat penny that people believe could be worth an astonishing $23 million because of its rare errors, minting mistakes, and the mysterious possibilities surrounding its creation. And as we unravel the details behind this incredible claim, we'll take you deep into the world of minting anomalies, unpredictable production flaws, unusual planchet events, rare die states, freak accidents inside the mint, and the wild but fascinating theories that collectors use to explain how a simple copper coin from the post-war era might cross the boundary from pocket change to priceless artifact. And it all begins with understanding the historical moment of 1946 itself, because this was a year when the United States Mint was transitioning from wartime metal compositions back to pre-war standards, a period when the chaos of rapid production, equipment recalibration, leftover experimental planchets, Worn die stock and rushed minting schedules opened the door to bizarre errors that should not have existed but somehow slipped into circulation anyway, and collectors speculate that the $23 million 1946 wheat penny owes its rumored value to a combination of several ultra-rare mistakes including off-metal strikes, transitional metal blanks, doubled dies, repunched mint marks, die cracks, lamination flaws, broad strikes, improperly annealed planchets, wrong planchet errors, striking pressure anomalies, misaligned dies, unintentional proof-like surfaces, early die state clarity, late die state deterioration, and possibly even mule strikes where mismatched dies were accidentally paired during high-pressure wartime transitions, all of which create a perfect storm of rarity that pushes a coin far beyond normal collector pricing and into the realm of mythical multi-million-dollar legends. And when people talk about the possibility of a 1946 wheat penny reaching this kind of value, the first thing they bring up is the chance that a very small number, maybe even just one or two, were minted on leftover steel planchets from 1943 when zinc-coated steel pennies were produced to save copper for the war effort, because if even a single 1946 penny was accidentally struck on a steel planchet from outdated wartime stock that remained in mint storage bins, that alone would send its value into astronomical territory, since transitional off-metal errors are among the rarest and most sought after in the entire Lincoln Cent series, and collectors also theorize that the coin might involve a bronze planchet of unusual purity or weight, perhaps containing higher tin or zinc levels left over from wartime alloy experimentation, creating a coin whose composition differs from standard 1946 copper cents, and if such a coin were authenticated with unusual metallurgy, it would instantly become a scientific and historical treasure. And next there's the possibility of a doubled die obverse so strong and dramatic that the doubling is visible to the naked eye on the date, Liberty, or the motto, because the Lincoln Cent series is famous for its dramatic double die errors like those of 1955 and 1972, and if a 1946 penny existed with similarly bold doubling, it would easily command massive attention, skyrocketing interest, and possibly jaw-dropping auction prices, since such a pairing of year and error has never been publicly documented. And then there's the idea of an extreme repunched mint mark where the S-mint mark was accidentally punched into the die multiple times in different locations, creating a visible stack or shadow effect that collectors love because such dramatic mint mark errors are rare and highly desirable, especially from the late 1940s when manual mint mark punching was still standard practice, and a dramatic RPM could elevate a coin's value into elite territory, especially if combined with other errors like doubling or wrong planchet strikes. And another major possibility involves the chance that this rare 1946 wheat penny shows what collectors call a mule error, where two dies meant for different coins or denominations were accidentally paired together and struck during production, a type of mistake so rare that only a handful have ever been verified in official U.S. mint history. And while there's no confirmed mule for 1946 since the chaotic post-war minting environment has led some to speculate that one could theoretically exist, and if it ever surfaced, it would instantly become one of the rarest American coins of all time, easily commanding tens of millions. And beyond these rare structural errors, there are also theories about extreme striking conditions such as ultra-high pressure strikes resulting in deeply defined details unlike any regular circulation strike, possibly even producing semi-proof-like surfaces because the dies were polished or new at the time of striking. And if the alleged 1946 penny displays mirror-like fields and strong frosted devices from an accidental proof-like strike, it would be dramatically unlike typical cents of the era, and collectors would treat it as a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly. And still others think the rarity might come from severe die cracks forming dramatic raised lines across Lincoln's portrait or the wheat ears, or massive die breaks that form extra metal blobs called cuds, or dramatic lamination peels caused by imperfect alloy mixing during planchet creation. And these kinds of eye-catching flaws often draw the attention of error specialists who pay huge sums for coins that show unusual stages of die deterioration. And then there is the possibility of broad strike or off-center errors so dramatic that the design is shifted far from its normal position while still showing full readability. And if a 1946 off-center strike were extremely large yet retained a full date and mint mark, the rarity would increase exponentially. And to make a coin leap into the multi-million-dollar range, collectors theorize that multiple errors would need to exist on the same coin, forming a compound mistake such as a double die struck on a steel planchet with a dramatic repunched mint mark and a broad strike, all on the same piece, something so bizarre that it pushes the boundaries of minting logic. And this stacking of impossibilities is part of what fuels the legend of a 1946 penny worth $23 million, because while no verified piece has publicly appeared with all these traits combined, The idea of a one-of-a-kind mint anomaly continues to fascinate collectors who know that U.S. mint history is full of strange surprises, including coins that were not discovered for decades, coins struck unofficially after hours, coins created accidentally during die testing, coins that escaped routine melting, or coins that were produced during chaotic transitional periods when quality control was not perfect, and the year 1946 fits this theme perfectly. Because it came right after the war when the mint was rushing to return to normal operations, and rushed operations create mistakes, and mistakes create value, and the mystery surrounding this rumored coin grows deeper when you consider how many rare coins were discovered long after their minting, hidden in old jars, dusty coffee cans, forgotten boxes, bank rolls, or estate collections where they remained untouched for half a century before being rediscovered by pure luck, and the idea that a one-of-a-kind 1946 penny might still be hiding somewhere in the world keeps collectors excited, searching through rolls, examining pennies under magnification and hoping to uncover what could be the rarest Lincoln cent ever found. And even though many experts caution that the $23 million figure is theoretical, hypothetical, or based on extreme scenarios, the excitement surrounding it comes from the world of possibilities, because coin collecting isn't just about what exists but about what could exist, what might exist, and what could still be found in circulation or forgotten storage. And when you add the emotional connection people have to wheat pennies, which symbolize nostalgia, history, wartime sacrifice, artistic craftsmanship, and the endurance of American coinage, the dream of finding a multi-million-dollar wheat penny becomes even more powerful. And with each new discovery of a rare coin from this period, the legend of the 1946 multi-million-dollar penny grows, inspiring collectors, treasure hunters, metal detectorists, and everyday people checking their pocket change to imagine that maybe, just maybe, the next unbelievable discovery is still out there waiting. And as always, we appreciate you joining us for this deep dive into the world of rare and extraordinary coins. And if you enjoyed exploring the unbelievable possibilities of the 1946 wheat penny, make sure to stick around for more fascinating stories and discoveries, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss the next incredible treasure hunting adventure on this channel. Today, as we dive deep into one of the most fascinating, surprising, and almost unbelievable stories from the world of coin collecting, a story that takes us back to the early years of the 1950s and centers on a single small piece of copper that has shocked collectors, historians, investors, and treasure hunters alike, because today we are talking about the 1951 wheat penny, a coin that most people would glance at once and toss aside without a second thought, assuming it is worth nothing more than its face value. But behind this seemingly ordinary coin lies a tale filled with mystery, error-driven rarity, minting mishaps, unexpected anomalies, potential one-of-a-kind characteristics, and collector frenzy that has led to rumors, stories, and claims that a particular example of the 1951 wheat penny has reached a staggering valuation of $12 million. And in this extended deep dive, we are going to unravel all the layers, possibilities, historical circumstances, minting conditions, error types, and speculation that have built up around this coin, creating a legend that has fascinated people for decades. And to truly understand why a coin minted in the millions could possibly produce a single example worth such an astronomical figure, we need to go back to the origin of the wheat penny series, the processes inside the U.S. Mint at that time, the way errors occurred, the types of mistakes that collectors crave, and the tiny imperfections that can drastically affect a coin's price, because value in numismatics is never just about age, but about scarcity, desirability, condition, uniqueness, and the type of unrepeatable error that transforms an everyday coin into a multi-million-dollar rarity. So let's begin by imagining the year 1951, a time when the United States Mint was still producing the Lincoln wheat cent design introduced in 1909, a design that had become iconic, but also a design that over time experienced an enormous variety of minting errors due to worn dies, aging equipment, rapid production speeds, and the growing demand for circulating coinage. And in that year, the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints produced hundreds of millions of pennies, each struck under conditions where even small inconsistencies could result in dramatic variations. And while most 1951 cents looked ordinary, a tiny handful did not. And that brings us to the possibilities surrounding the now famous 1951 wheat penny linked to the extraordinary $12 million claim, because when collectors hear such a number, they immediately think of only the rarest categories of errors or mistakes, such as off-metal strikes, double die obverse or reverse varieties so dramatic that they can be identified with the naked eye, transitional planchet mistakes where a coin is struck on the wrong year's metal composition, misaligned dies, broad strikes, off-center strikes, repunched mint marks, Die breaks known as cut errors, lamination errors stemming from impurities in the copper planchet, and even exotic possibilities like experimental strikes or accidental test pieces that were never meant to leave the mint, and any one of these, if extreme enough, could explain the staggering value, particularly if the coin is the only known surviving example or has characteristics so unusual that experts cannot replicate or explain them. For example, imagine a 1951 penny mistakenly struck on a leftover steel planchet from 1943, or on a silver dime planchet, or even on a foreign coin planchet, or consider the possibility of a massive double die error similar in fame to the 1955 double die cent, where the doubling is bold, dramatic, unmistakable, and instantly recognizable, creating a variety where demand vastly outweighs supply, and scarcity is absolute. Or imagine a 1951 penny with a mint-mark blunder so unusual that no other coin from any year shows the same pattern, perhaps a triple-punched S mint mark that displays three distinct impressions at noticeably different angles, or a die crack that runs dramatically across Lincoln's portrait forming a unique raised mark that looks almost like a slash, giving the coin a dramatic appearance that collectors love, or perhaps the coin has an extraordinary off-center strike where the design is positioned so far toward the edge that part of the coin appears blank, yet the date remains fully visible, drastically increasing its desirability. Or maybe the coin has a wrong planchet error, where instead of a normal copper alloy planchet it was accidentally struck on a copper-nickel planchet used for another denomination, giving it a drastically incorrect weight and color, something that advanced collectors can detect immediately using scales, magnets, and sound tests. And what pushes the story even further is that the legend of this 1951 penny suggests it may feature not one but several stacked errors all on the same coin, a combination so improbable that experts speculate the coin could have been the result of a series of freak accidents within the minting process, something like a wrong planchet combined with a double die combined with a dramatic off-center strike, or even a minting experiment mistakenly released into circulation. And whenever you get a coin with multiple significant errors, the rarity multiplies exponentially, meaning it can become the only one of its kind in the world. And when something is unique in numismatics, collectors who seek to own the best, the rarest, the most extraordinary, the one coin that no one else can obtain, are willing to pay sums that seem outrageous to the average person, which is exactly how a story of a 1951 wheat penny valued at $12 million takes shape. And another key factor that drives value into the millions is condition, because if this particular coin, error-filled as it may be, was also preserved in exceptional condition, such as near mint or uncirculated state, with sharp details, intact luster, and minimal wear, then its rarity is amplified dramatically, as error coins in high grade are exponentially more valuable than those in worn condition, and collectors often compete fiercely for coins that combine rarity with quality, especially if grading services like PCGS or NGC authenticate and certify the coin with a high grade. And that brings us to the certification aspect, because for a coin to reach such a legendary valuation, it must usually be authenticated thoroughly, analyzed under microscopes, weighed, measured, tested metallurgically, compared with known error types, and verified to be genuine and not altered or tampered with. And in cases like these, experts often debate among themselves whether the coin represents a known error category or an entirely new discovery that expands the understanding of the minting history of that era. And when a coin breaks established patterns or reveals a previously unknown minting blunder, it shakes the collecting community and becomes a must-have piece for advanced enthusiasts, investors, and museums. And in the case of the rumored $12 million 1951 penny, speculation suggests that the coin may have created such a stir, leading wealthy collectors to compete over winning ownership, which in turn escalates the price even more, because in high-stakes numismatics, the price is often driven not by the intrinsic metal value but by the emotional, historical, and competitive value of possessing something that is virtually unattainable. And what intensifies the fascination around the 1951 penny is the mystery surrounding the exact nature of the errors it might contain, because although many theories exist, from dramatic double dies to misstruck planchets, collectors love coins surrounded by mystery, coins whose full story is not completely understood, because in that uncertainty lies intrigue, and intrigue is priceless to passionate collectors. And when you add the fact that wheat pennies, especially those from the 1940s and 1950s, are already nostalgic items loved by generations, the attachment grows even stronger, and the legend becomes self-sustaining. And that emotional, historical, and mystery-driven value combines with genuine numismatic rarity to produce the kind of record-breaking valuations that become the talk of the collecting world and inspire people everywhere to search their old jars, drawers, boxes, and pockets for hidden treasures, hoping they might uncover their own $1 million era coin. And so the story of the 1951 wheat penny worth $12 million is not merely about a coin, it is about the thrill of discovery, the excitement of rarity, the unpredictability of minting errors, the beauty of imperfections, the passion of collectors, and the incredible reality that sometimes, in the world of numismatics, a tiny piece of copper can become a priceless artifact. And this legendary coin stands as a reminder that extraordinary finds can come from ordinary places. Inspiring everyone watching today to look more closely at the coins passing through their hands, because you never truly know when you might be holding something historic, rare, and unimaginably valuable. And as we wrap up this deep exploration into the fascinating world of the 1951 wheat penny and its extraordinary $12 million story, make sure to stay curious, keep searching, and continue learning about the incredible treasures hiding in plain sight. And if you enjoyed this journey into the mysterious, surprising, and captivating world of rare coins, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another story that could change the way you see the coins you encounter every single day.